In March 2022, two of AJ's friends were outside the Washington D.C. Surgery Center, and they were given boxes of medical waste. From a driver turned whistleblower, what they found changed their lives and AJ's forever. There were 115 deceased babies in those boxes. 5 of those babies were full-term, third-trimester children with evidence of having been killed after birth or during delivery. Here is AJ and that story. Hey everybody, Jeff Peterson here. Welcome to this special interview I have today. You are not going to believe this. I know I say that in a lot of interviews, but also if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Find my YouTube channel. I have a link in my bio. Find it, subscribe, tell your friends. This is one incredible interview. Here he is right now. AJ Hurley. Welcome, AJ. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks so much, Jeff. Appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get right into it. Give everyone a brief bio of yourself before all this stuff that happened.
So my name is AJ Hurley. I'm from a little town called Upland, California, which is like just about an hour east of LA. Born and raised there. And man, I had a huge heart for like the medical field. And so when I graduated high school, I went to college and got a degree. Then did another 2 years specialty training in respiratory care, and got a respiratory care practitioner certification license, and started working at UCLA Medical Center as a respiratory therapist, putting little babies on ventilators. So I worked there for about 6 years, and just put little babies on ventilators, and that's kind of where I had my career in the medical field, and then a lot of this other pro-life passion came out of really working on these children and seeing children in the NICU that from the NICU into the PICU, where I worked, which is I say NICU, PICU, people don't really know what that means. So
right.
Intensive care unit and pediatric intensive care unit, where I was just working on these children. They would come out of the NICU. I would take care of them in the PICU and put them on ventilators. And so every day became a tangible, vivid reminder of these children in the womb, because a lot of these babies that were coming out of the NICU couldn't have survived on their own. And they were technically at the gestational ages of still being a child in the womb. So they were just able to survive outside of the womb because we were helping them. And so I'm looking at these precious babies and really daily vivid reminder that honestly, abortion is just the most inconsistent and wicked thing that we could do, to literally pull the arms and legs off these babies and crush their skulls just because it's determining them unvaluable. Really, there's no difference between the babies that we were working on and the babies that were in other mothers' wombs, in terms of their intrinsic and ontological value. So that really solidified my love for the unborn. And
what pivoted you into what would most people say the pro-life movement?
Honestly, I think it was just that. Like,
is that in itself?
Yeah, and I'm like, man, this is so horrible that
I've not met too many nurses in the field. I mean, I know there's a lot, but in the pro-life movement, nurses, especially in your field, did you know a lot of them that were in pro-life activism or anything like that?
Not really, no. I mean, there are like pro-life OBGYNs. There's an organization called APLOG. I don't know if you've heard of that. There's not a lot of me out there, I think, like people that are obviously there's a lot of pro-life people who are in like medical people in the medical field that are pro-life, but in terms of just like strict pro-life activists, not a lot. And so I just started going down to Planned Parenthood in the mornings. My wife and I would just go down there, talk to. At that time, I didn't even know what a sidewalk counselor was, and so I was like, hey, let's go down and see if we can offer help to moms and see if we can adopt their babies. And so Lori and I, my wife, we would go down there during the week and try to save children. And that's kind of how I got involved with the pro-life movement. And it's a long story short, but I had a horrible time trying to get help every day. And we both had full-time jobs. So we tried to the church involved, and it was just pulling teeth to do so. So then
what year was this about?
Oh man, when was this? I would say this is probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
5 years.
Yeah. And so I haven't been a
not forever
guy forever. Yeah.
So tell us what happened it was last year, March 2022?
March 25th of 22.
Okay.
Yep.
A year ago. Almost a year ago. Okay.
Oh gosh, it's crazy to say that. It's been such a crazy year. But so I transitioned from full-time respiratory therapist to honestly just became full-time pro-life guy, and started working for an organization at the time called Survivors of the Abortion Holocaust. And we would go all over the country. I began lecturing and talking about like fetal organ trafficking and the science experiments that they're doing on aborted children with the organs of these children, and the grim kind of illegal practice that they're getting away with harvesting the organs of pain-capable violent children and using taxpayer dollars to fund research projects through the NIH to do that. And so I was going around doing activism, hitting all these major places, like these major fetal organ harvesting hubs. And I happened to be in New York on March 25th, or actually the day before. No, I'm sorry. It was March 25th. Yeah. The day they were found was March 25th. Happened to be there. And I got a call from two of my friends, just frantic on the phone. AJ, we need you here immediately. We found a box of babies.
Was there a sense of disbelief at that point?
And
when they called you and said, hey.
Yeah. I mean, no, there wasn't disbelief because they opened the box, but in general, yeah, it was just, they just assumed that the waste management company that was going to the abortion clinic in the morning was picking up babies. I mean, it's not take rocket science,
Right.
Fortunately, it's like women you're counseling in the morning are going in, and eventually babies have to come out. They're not flushing these children down the toilet for obvious health and water safety regulations and stuff like that. And so, yeah, they just used this opportunity to appeal to this driver that was coming through. And so he told me that, yeah, they were out there in the morning doing sidewalk counseling and trying to save children, resources to them. And the waste driver pulled up from a company called Curtis Bay Medical Waste Company and started unloading boxes from this abortion clinic called Washington Surgi-Clinic. Probably pretty infamous abortionist there named Cesare Santangelo. And he is, basically he's been outed on two different undercover videos of him just saying egregious things, saying he wouldn't He would not help a baby if it was born alive, that he would just leave it there to die. Saying like women who were on the verge of getting out of there and really regretting their decision to abort their babies, he would tell them that, he would have the nurse come in and say that he's not going to talk to them and answer their questions unless their pants were down and they had 2 Xanax in them.
Jeez.
Just horrible.
Yeah.
Just a monster, really.
So your friends called you. You hop on the nearest flight or car and get down there, and you get there, and then what? Yeah,
so I get there. We took a train from New York to D.C. So it was in D.C. and we took a train. Lori and I were there in like 4 hours or so. And man, we just obviously, first of all, consoled them. And then second of all,
I'm sure they were shook up. I mean, was this at their house or apartment?
It was at the apartment. Yeah, they took the box. So basically what they did was appeal to this driver and said, hey, I don't know if you realize this, your job you're doing at a lot of these medical institutions, and they pointed up and said, that's an abortion clinic, and these are the corpses of the children of your community. And he was visibly disturbed, very shook up about it, probably never made for the whole thing. And basically they used that opportunity to appeal to him and just said, hey, we need we really need to give these babies a proper burial and a funeral service given they deserve. Can we have these children to give them a burial? And so to their surprise and shock, he said, sure. And so he's like, I scanned the boxes in and I'm going to look the other way. And he went around the corner and they took a box, brought it back to their apartment, gave me a call, gave a few other people a call. They gave a call to one of the members of the media, an independent journalist, so that he could be there to film them opening the box. And so then we got there. And I'm like, hey, this is what we got to do. We got to take pictures of these babies. We got to video, document everything. And then we're going to have to see what we have. So in the box, Jeff, was like 115 aborted children. About 110 of them were in the first trimester. And then 5 of them to our gassed, we were aghast that they were full-term babies, 3rd trimester, and which was the most horrible thing was that these babies had evidence of partial birth abortion and infanticide, that they had been born alive and left to die. So,
wow, I don't know how anybody, even with medical background like you, could even handle it. I mean, most people, the average person, if they're said, hey, come here, look at this, wouldn't be able to. How did you emotionally even grasp what was going on or deal with looking at this and taking pictures? I mean, how did you do that? How did you handle that?
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of crazy. So I think psychologically you kind of go into this work mode. Like I saw some initial photos of the babies before we took our high quality photos and like very like detailed video and everything of them. Mm-hmm. So initially, before I saw the babies, I saw some photos of the children and I pretty much lost it. But what was crazy was like when I saw the children in real life, you gonna go into this, like something snaps and you kind of go into this work mode. And I used to work on an ambulance, and it's like a phenomenon. Mm. You know, when you have a job to do, you can really kind of disassociate you personally and I hate to say it, the humanity of the children, and really grasp emotionally the existential, I guess, situation of the moment from the job you have to do. And there was a couple of times where the girls would break down and I'd just say, hey, look, none of that. Yeah. We got to get justice for these children. And it was a complicated situation because on one hand, you have medical waste. So it's like trash, right? And then on the other hand, you have the precious image bearers of God have been brutally murdered. And so, and these corpses are in your possession. So it's, you're wondering the legal issues surrounding this, if you're going to get in trouble. You're wondering, a lot of these fears are kind of going through your mind. On one hand, you have trash, and on the other hand, you have 150 corpses.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Like you said, all kinds of things are floating through your mind, and try to stay focused. I'm sure it's only God is helping you stay focused. I mean, I can't even imagine. I just can't imagine that. It's, what's the evidence that there's crimes committed, though? Isn't it all just legal in DC? I mean, did you look into the legal aspects just to protect yourself and the girls and everybody with you, let alone what had happened, and that now you have evidence?
For sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we looked into a lot of that. Some of that is hard to to kind of decipher through. I mean, you look up whether possessing, one hand medical waste and on the other hand, 115 bodies. How do you look up whether that's legal or not in this very unique scenario and very unique set of circumstances? And so we did have a team of lawyers that we consult, pro-life lawyers. So there's a few different organizations that work with pro-life groups. The most prestigious, I think, of which would probably be Thomas More Society. And so we had a few lawyers from Thomas More, and then we had consulted a few other lawyers that really are legal experts to try to determine what is the best course of action to take. And we had, because of the evidence of the crimes, we wanted to make good on the promise to give these babies a proper burial. So we took 110 of the first trimester children who, although it was horribly immoral what happened to them, it wasn't illegal. We took them and delivered them over to a member of the clergy who gave a funeral service, and actually we were all at the funeral service for these babies, all 115, but we took 110 of them to be buried. And then we made arrangements to take the 5 babies and turn them over to the DC PD, which in hindsight, I would have done a little differently. It's,
they weren't the most cooperative, huh?
Well, yeah. And I can get into that a little bit too, but just so everybody knows, like, even before Roe v. Wade was overturned, you could kill a baby in DC to the very day of birth. So, even though these were third trimester children, it would no crimes had been committed in that regard.
Right.
What was egregiously concerning was the fact that these babies had evidence of being born alive. There's an illegal technique that was used in the past where you partially deliver this baby out, and then you snip the back of the skull and you suction the baby's brains out. Forgive me for being graphic, but that's just what it is.
Right.
A partial birth abortion. And one of the babies had evidence of that. Her skull had been snipped, and her completely like everything about her body was completely intact. And so prima facie evidence of being the victim of partial birth abortion.
Wow. Now, for everybody watching, we're not going to show the videos or pictures, but there will be links, and I encourage everybody to check it out. There'll be links to go right to it. I've seen it all myself. I remember hearing about it, and I just can't fathom it. God gave you extra strength. I totally believe that.
I believe that too,
deal
man.
with it.
God's hand and his like providence, I think, was just over us, like comforting us. And it was one of the most traumatic and stressful couple weeks, I think, of my life.
I can't even imagine, and I don't want to imagine this. Now you also, I don't know, was it you named those five babies?
We actually named all 115 babies.
Wow.
So
a lot of people are going to want to know, why did you name them? And the five names that you go ahead, because I know you've said it on other interviews, tell us their names and why you named all of them, and if there's any special meanings behind them.
Yeah, we named so two of the girls, one of the girls is kind of not religious at all. She's an atheist. Another one of the girls is a Catholic. So there's all different names, and we all took turns naming the babies, and we all had a certain amount of names that we were we just divided them up and gave names. So a lot of those are personal names to us, and a lot of those names are like just figures from the past that are personal to other people. So
right.
I mean, so if you see the I'm a Reformed Christian, so if you see like Knox and Luther and Calvin and a lot of these kind of names, those are probably the names that I had given them. But one of the five babies was, like Malcolm, like one of the girls liked Malcolm X. And so I'm not a huge fan of Malcolm X, but that's just kind of was her thing. So the little insight to some of those names, but the five babies we named, one was Harriet. One was so there was Harriet, there was Phoenix, there was Christopher X, there was Holly. Holly was named after Holly O'Donnell. She was one of the whistleblowers in the David Daleiden videos, and she's actually no longer alive. She died. And so that baby was named after her. She was one of the STEM Express, one of those medical tissue procurement officers who ended up testifying what she saw.
Oh, okay.
And then Holly, I'm sorry, I said Holly.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Angel was the other one. So
okay.
Angel, Holly, Christopher X, Harriet, and Phoenix. So Phoenix was a baby that was completely still in its amniotic sac, if you believe it or not.
Wow.
So overwhelming evidence. I mean, you look at that child and the onus is on anybody else to say that baby did not come alive and to prove why, because how in the world do you have a baby who's completely intact, completely still in an undisturbed amniotic sac, completely not punctured at all, that isn't born alive? So there's honestly, there's no possible way to do that. So we turned these babies over to the D.C. PD.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, you asked me a question. I can't remember.
No, yeah, you're fine. Yeah, no, all the names, of course.
Yeah.
But did any of those five have special meaning?
Well, yeah. So I didn't name those five. But the only that I could think of was a Holly and then Harriet from the thing. Right. I think she's that abolitionist, right?
You said there was one in the amniotic sac. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, that's Phoenix.
That's Phoenix.
Yeah.
And Harriet, I know there's the picture that went just crazy, viral everywhere. There's a cartoon drawing of it, and that's Harriet.
Yeah, that's Harriet. That's a baby who's like she has one eye closed and one wide.
Right.
open. Yeah, that and her skull had been just deformed and punctured, not punctured, but deflated from the pressure of the suction device to the back of her neck. And so yeah,
you turn it over to the DC police. They come over.
Yeah, if there was a little bit of miscommunication there, if I would have done it over, I would have just delivered them personally to the DCPD. But they, I'm going to adjust this a little bit. They had one of the girls, while we went and took the 110 babies to get a funeral to be buried. The other girl had arranged for the DCPD to come pick the babies up. We didn't know that was a miscommunication. We didn't know that was going to happen. So I would not have had that happen, obviously, for obvious reasons, like we're sending the police into their house. The media can totally twist that, and that's exactly what happened.
Right.
So if it was up to me, I would have just gone and delivered those babies to the DCPD myself. But and this goes to show you, the level of corruption, not only with the police, but also with the media. Is our lawyers sent a letter to the DCPD informing of what happened and asking them to come pick the babies up. It took them an entire day to come and get them. And in the meantime, somebody sent the FBI to come swoop up, not the babies, but one of the girls. And so they picked her up, and for a protest she had done like 2 years before. So
that's crazy.
I have a really hard time believing that that was the day of all days,
right?
That they were going to come and get her, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, and so, but what happened was, the FBI showed up, and with them a whole host of media running a story, not that we had found these babies and we are trying to get justice for these babies, but the story that the media came and ran with was that this crazed lunatic pro-lifer was swooped up by the FBI because there was 110, 15 babies that she was harboring in her basement. And so that just goes to show the level of corruption, and not media, but the police department in DC and the
whole thing. Yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts.
So it's just it was a crazy time, man. I mean,
did you get in trouble yourself personally at all?
Not directly for that, but as a pro-life activist, we do a lot of things to just expose the powers that be and the power structures.
Yeah, I know. What's the status of your two friends that found them and got you? How are they? Where are they at?
Yeah, so just legally or personally or what?
Both.
Yeah. So they're doing really well. So they work for an organization. Well, one of them is the founder of an organization called POW. So they kind of are like these progressive types that are pro-life, because because they're vegan, and so they're like, excuse me, if they're kind of, if we don't want to kill animals, well, shoot, we should probably value every human or every living being, and why are we pro-choice? And so they become like voraciously pro-life and are some of the most intense and extreme pro-lifers that you'll meet. And so they were kind of behind a lot of the rescue movement now. So they're trying to take the baton of the previous rescue movements in the past, and they're going into abortion clinics and risking arrest just to save the lives of children. So very, very noble work, and it's being done most courageously by people who don't share my religious perspective, which is kind of to me. But
right. Now, did they have to spend time in jail or prison or anything? And if so, are they out? Or
so for this thing that she had been picked up 2 years before, oddly enough, it's crazy. It was it's for a rescue that they had done at the same facility. So we're really praying, that these babies would be able to be a powerful force in defense, because we knew through the undercover videos and through the now the pictures and video evidence of these babies that they're just an egregious abortion clinic, and that they should be shut down for practicing illegally. So their trial for that, I don't think, is going to be for another year or so. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll keep you in the loop in terms of that.
Yeah, definitely. But did they have to spend any jail time though, or are they out? I assume
they were in jail for just a few days for that.
Okay.
But are out on bail. So
yeah, that's just crazy. I know it. It's now these pictures and videos. Like I said, the links are there for everybody to look at. And do you recommend just anybody to look at these videos? And
yeah, maybe not everybody. I think you should probably keep
discretion.
Children, but they're very, very graphic. Mm-hmm. But I would say that anybody, within discretion, like if you're a parent even and you have a teenager, then you want to really let them know what abortion is. Honestly, this issue is just exists and thrives in euphemism, in lies. I think we need to show the grim reality of what abortion is. And incendiary images have always been a tool of social reform. Mm-hmm. When you look at the child labor stuff, when you look at the civil rights movement, when you look at suffrage, or when there would be the images of like the cannons and the dogs coming after people of color. You saw the images of Emmett Till with the civil rights movement. And so I think it is vitally important that we see the victims of abortion and see the grim, gruesome reality of what abortion truly is, and so that we can truly expose what it is to the people. You see, a picture is obviously worth 1,000 words, and a video even more. So it is impossible, if you are completely just not given over by the sin and hardened, it is impossible to look at these images of these babies and be a supporter of that type of violence against innocent. I think it's vital that people see these images. In the last 15 years, we have had nothing. I mean, that's the blessing, if there was one, because of this, is that we now see the images of what abortion is. And it's crazy. It was like 2 months, a month and a half before God overturned this wicked and abominable decision of Roe v. Wade.
Right.
He really peeled back the curtain and let America look into an abortion clinic one last time before he turned this decision. And I think that was a providential thing, because we don't have any videos to this degree.
Wow. Yeah, and I encourage everyone, with discretion, look at these pictures and videos. Have you gotten any kind of pushback from people like, no, that's just fake, this is all set up to get the glory for yourself? And have you ever got pushback on that?
They've tried.
On the other side.
Yeah, they tried, but it's very hard to do so. And that was the other blessing of this, because you have you can say that this is fake, but the DC PD had a press conference right after they found these babies. We gave them up, and they're not only agreeing that these are aborted children, not only agreeing that these are all aborted children from Washington Surgi-Center, but agreeing that all of these babies were aborted according to DC law, and that were no crimes committed.
Right.
And
so there's the proof right there for anybody that questions it.
Yeah, if you question it, well, take it up with Muriel
right.
PD, who verified everything about this story that we said. We even went public with the letter that we gave to the police before that they picked him up, dated the day before the DCPD went public with everything, saying that we delivering these babies, informing them of what happened and delivering them over. So they really can't question the story, even despite the media's I'm looking for a word, I don't want to say bastardizing the story, but despite them lying about it. So
now how can people continue to follow this and follow you? I have your Instagram here. Is that the main? I know who are you working for now? Live Action, did you tell me?
Yeah, so I just took a job as an activism director for Live Action. So
awesome.
I just started doing that, and it's been a total blessing. It's been awesome to work with them, and so you should be seeing lots more of us. We're gonna try to get involved and get an activism crew of like people who want to be trained to take back this culture for life. So I'm incredibly animated to really take this digital organization that has the largest media footprint that's done amazing activism work in the past.
Yeah.
Actually get boots on the ground. So if you want to get involved with Live Action and become a pro-life activist in your area where you live, there's tons to be done. So I would love to help that in any way possible. So
awesome. I want to close on one real light note. I know you've met my good friends Scott Horde and Bo Lynham at the March for Life, and you all had a really good day at that same Surgi Center. Am I right? Can you tell me about that? I forgot to ask you about this. Yeah.
So Bo and Scott have been friends of mine for several years. Actually, when I first got into this, Bo was one of the first pro-life, like full-time activists that I met, and he and I he's one of my best friends, I'd imagine. And so, so they came out for the Walk for Life this year. And what was amazing was they were like, AJ in DC here, where do we go to? Should we just go down to Planned Parenthood? We want to do some sidewalk counseling. I'm like, nah, I got the place for you, brother. Go to Washington Surgi-Center, this late-term abortion clinic, and you have I think a better chance of saving babies there. And sure enough, man, these guys show up, and the name and Holy Spirit, it was behind them, power of the Holy Spirit, and man, they saved a child that day. And we went live, and there's now planning the baby shower of a woman who a child that they saved that day. It was total divine appointment. God spoke through them, and they were all in tears when they left. I mean, it was just amazing reconciliation, and they're helping this woman, giving her all the resources she needs to make this baby I guess just to provide anything she needs to have this baby. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. I wanted to end on that because I remember seeing your live video live, and I'm like, oh, that is awesome. I know where Scott and Bo are at, and there's so many that they've worked with and trained up over the years as well. Myself, I've been with Scott, both of them. They're great guys, great men of God, and it's great to talk to you and get to know you as well. It is awesome. People can find you on Instagram at AJ Hurley.
Facebook, Instagram. I'm just starting a YouTube. I haven't really gotten it going yet, but you can go pre-subscribe on YouTube too. Same thing, AJ Hurley.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, AJ, for coming on, and like I said, everybody check out the links to these pictures and videos, and keep an eye on AJ for any new developments, and check out liveaction.org as well. Thank you, AJ. I appreciate so much for coming on.
You got it, brother. Thanks for having me, buddy.
You bet.